Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. Today I am so excited. I had a really good find on eBay. This is a bowed psaltery, which is this cool instrument that you play with a bow, but it looks kind of like one of those little lap harps or psalteries. And this is made by Unicorn Strings back in the 90s, which is still a company and is still around. But obviously this one is probably about 30 years old now. So I'm really excited to open it up and see what it's like. And also I am going to be doing some maintenance on it. It has a few broken strings and we're just going to clean it up in general. I know there's a lot of vintage bowed psalteries out there, and they're a lot cheaper if you're wanting to play around with the instrument. So I thought this might be helpful for anyone else who is wanting to pick up one of these and do some really basic maintenance, like changing strings and dusting it off and that sort of thing. So let's go ahead and open this up. In this awesome box, we have a beautiful bowed psaltery. I believe this one is made of cherry wood. And it has this really gorgeous rosette on it. And as you can tell, some of the strings are kind of wonky. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to figure out which strings are broken and what we need to do to change them. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Looking at this, there's a lot of dust on here that I want to clean off. And also, here are our strings. Over here it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 strings that are going to need replacing. So that shouldn't be too hard. So I picked these up on Amazon. It's a giant set of 10 gauge strings, which is the gauge of this Unicorn Strings psaltery. And I think a lot of psalteries use these 10 gauge strings. So if you have one, it should work on yours as well. So the really interesting thing about these Unicorn Strings psalteries, and I think a lot of other bowed psalteries also, is that you have one string that covers 2 notes. So you can see it comes up here, it goes around that peg, and then kind of comes out the bottom and weaves up to be this string as well. So this string is the A sharp and the G sharp over here. So we're gonna try to do that, and if that doesn't work, then I'm just gonna use my ball and strings and do one for each note, because while this looks a lot prettier, I think it will be a lot easier to just do one for each. So we'll see how this goes. Okay, so let's get started. I'm gonna open up this string and take off this little tab and set it aside. And then the first thing we're going to want to do is clear out these old strings. And to do that, you might want a pair of needle nose pliers. I use these for jewelry making, and also they are super helpful for getting old strings out of here. So we just want to get in here, and these psaltery strings are tied in kind of their own special little knot. So it does take a little bit of digging to get them out of there. Okay, so we've cleared out the broken strings, and now I'm going to use a cloth to kind of dust off the inside of it. We're gonna kind of thread it through here, and you can use the spaces where your broken strings are to make it a little easier, but it's not impossible. You just kind of have to push at it until it really gets under there, and then if you can reach it from the other side, there you go. Now you can dust off this little bit, and these are always going to be a little tricky just because of the way that the tuning pegs are spaced. It's going to be harder for me to get up into that upper area, but we're going to keep trying to thread our little towel in there and get it clean. And another thing that can really help out with cleaning those spaces in between is if you have some of that canned air. That'll be a lot easier to get into those little spaces than an actual cloth. Okay, so now we're gonna move on and work on changing the strings. So here we go. All right, I have my little ball end string right here. And we're just gonna kind of unwind that circle so that we end up with a whole string, if we can get it right. You usually have to unwind both ends. And then it should just pop right open. There it goes. Okay, so we've got our string here. And measuring it, it looks like that'll be plenty to do both strings for all except for the highest. And we just need to replace these little ones down here. So I think we're going to be okay just using 2 strings if I can figure out this weaving in and out method. So first we're going to start by finding which string goes where. This one is to the A sharp, and this one goes to our G sharp. So I think this one right here is going to go up to the F sharp. So I'm just going to put the little string in there. Oh, a little wood piece in there. And we're just going to string that through there. Now on this Psaltery, and probably on lots of vintage Psalteries, you'll see that these are not ball end strings. There's a special little knot that you are supposed to tie on these tuning pegs. Personally, I find the ball end strings to be a lot easier. So it's not going to be quite as pretty as tying that knot. That makes it look a lot cleaner. But personally for me, I prefer easy. So I'm just going to go with the ball end string. Okay, so we're going to bring our string, and this is kind of tricky. There's a notch in the top of this tuning pin. So we want to bring our string into that notch right here, and then we're going to find the end again, and we're going to loop it through the loop at the bottom, going back towards the tuning pegs this way. And then we're going to want to grab that string and bring it out so we can use it more easily. There we go. Okay, so we've created this loop over here, and what we're going to want that loop to do is sit nicely in the notch of that tuning peg. You can kind of see how that's going on there. And then we're going to want to find the right little notch here on the bridge, and there we go. Oh, you have to be very careful not to let it get unnotched from the top, because that is the really important spot. Okay, so we've got it in there, and then we're going to take this string, and we actually want to loop it around on the inside, so we're going to put it back through here, bring it through, all while being very careful, of course, to keep that string in the notch on the top so we don't lose our structure that we have going on. Okay, let's string back in the notch. There you go. Pull from this end, it made kind of a loop thing. And then that loop, the end of our string is going to go in this side, more towards the tuning pegs, and come out the opposite side towards the top. There we go. Being careful to keep that loose string in that notch on top there. That's really the trickiest part, because once you start to tighten this, if it's not in that little notch, you're going to have a whole bunch of trouble getting it back in there. So you want to always be very sure that the string is staying in the notch. And then we're going to bring the string up again through the notch on the top of this tuning peg, and it comes back down to the tuning pegs. Put this one down here. where we're going to try our best to tie a little knot. And then we're going to try and tune it up a little bit. Trying very hard, again, to keep that string in the knot. Okay, I'm going to come over here. And trying to tie that knot, we're going to loop it around. And then the end of the string, I'm going to attempt to loop it under the other side of the string. Here's where we're going to need our pliers again, because this is just too fine without it. We want to put the string under and then pull it up through the loop you are making to make a knot that ties around the tuning peg. Okay, and then we're going to pull it as tight as we can. Our pliers will help with that also, making sure that our strings stay in the notch. Oh, there we go. See, it can be really hard to get it back in there if it falls out, so do be careful. Okay, and we've tightened that knot quite a bit, so now we're going to turn our tuning pegs and tighten it up. So that is it. That is how you put a string on a psaltery. So I hope that that has been helpful for you guys. This bowed psaltery is just a seriously cool instrument. And I'm going to be doing a review on it sometime in the future so you guys can get an idea of what this awesome instrument sounds like and how you can play it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you all have an absolutely amazing day. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching my channel. Look right up there and click the subscription button if you would like to see more of my content, and I will see you next time. Thank you!